Okay, so good afternoon, and for some, good evening. I wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone for joining us. We have quite a few people from the AKF team here as well, so thank you so much for coming in at all hours. So just a reminder, my name is Saba, and today we're going to present to you our journey with working with the Aga Khan Foundation in Kyrgyzstan on a project that is known as the Livelihoods for Youth project. So this project captures both the supply and the demand side of youth employment across various regions in Kyrgyzstan, with a focus on firstly preparing youth for the labor market, secondly creating the market opportunities for youth, and then lastly connecting these talented youth to growing sectors with a specific focus on the digital economy. So I want to start off by, introducing our team once again, and it was great working with each and every one of them, each bringing something very unique to the table. So we have Jazgul, who is Kyrgyz herself and was able to bring that deep understanding of the local context. Jeremy, who is our only business school student amongst a sea of SEPA students and was able to bring that business lens with a deep understanding of the private sector. We have Natasha, who is the technical expert on the digital and the IT sectors, as well as myself, who has an understanding of the AKDN network due to my past experiences working with them. So just to walk you a bit through the process, over the past 5 months, we've conducted over 8 interviews with 85 plus individuals. And this is youth, teachers, employers, TVET centers, as well as various organizations across the globe. And so we were able to take all this knowledge and the data that we gathered and use them in various design tools to recommend solutions that were client-centric. So we started off by mapping various stakeholders, and we categorized them just to try to understand the roles that each of them play and how diverse our stakeholders were through the various categories outlined here. We then humanized this further by creating empathy maps. So from this, we were able to map out what our interviewees would say, do, how they felt, and what they were thinking to kind of capture a little bit more about that personal feel and the human aspect to consider during our solutions and recommendations that we were putting forward. We also created SWOT analyses, one for the AKF team, just to better understand, for example, what they were already doing well and what others were doing in the market in order to create partnerships for synergy and to ensure that none of our work was being duplicated here. We also created one for the Kyrgyz youth just to better understand how we can fill gaps while leveraging the current strengths and opportunities that they have to offer. So we've compiled all of these design tools, which will be shared with our client for them to use for this project as well as for future AKF projects as well. I'm going to pass it on to Natasha.
Hey everyone. So as we started to think about our problem, we decided to kind of reframe our challenge to two specific pillars. The first was how might we incentivize talented youth to build a career in Kyrgyzstan, and particularly in the IT sector. So there were 3 components to how we thought about this. The first was how might we inspire and build confidence. We gathered a lot of information and found it interesting that completion rates for a lot of these tech boot camps was low, and participation rates for women was even lower. So we wanted to definitely focus on that end. We also wanted to focus on building local connections, as many of the youth feel they must leave Kyrgyzstan if they want to be successful. So we wanted to reframe to make sure that we connected youth with local employers, training, financing opportunities, and role models that help them feel that they can be successful in Kyrgyzstan and inspire them to consider staying. And finally, we wanted to incentivize employers to hire locally and bridge the skills gap by offering internship opportunities as well. With these things in mind, we also wanted to focus on the rural communities, but wanted to take into consideration limited resources as well as the cultural context of the youth there. So we wanted to make sure it was really accessible and met the needs of the rural population. Next slide. So our design principles are listed here. Our solution would allow youth to build a comfortable life for themselves in Kyrgyzstan, make it seamless for rural youth in communities to access relevant skills for the workforce, inspire a future generation of Kyrgyz entrepreneurs and digital leaders, allow youth to keep up with rapid global changes while keeping roots of their culture, rebrand and change the perception of coding and digital skills from one to fear to one of excitement. We found that, a lot of the youth that we spoke to, kind of whenever they thought of tech skills, they thought immediately software engineering, and we wanted to kind of open the aperture of the possibility of digital skills that can be taught and be a potential career path. And finally, match employers with what they're looking for, as well as what Kyrgyz youth are looking for. So all of these design principles take into context the macro challenges, which is the cultural context, the gender lens in program design, consideration for how to reach rural areas with limited resources, know-how, and reach. And finally, due to the current COVID limitations in the lockdown of the country. And now I'll pass it on to Jeremy, who's going to talk about the big picture.
Thanks. Yeah, so now that you've seen our process, let's talk a little bit about our solution and kind of what are the core tenets that will guide our solution. So our solution will basically be focused on helping individuals and employers build careers in the IT sector in Kyrgyzstan. And thinking about our solution, we've sort of reframed our solution to incorporate these three key components: comprehension, connection, and confidence. Firstly, in terms of comprehension, while talking to students and doing our research, we found that a lot of them, they don't have quality education, as well as have a lack of resources when it comes to wanting to build careers in IT. And so our solution will imagine a world where quality education and resources go to these youth and are accessible to them. Secondly, connection. We found that in terms of connection, a lot of youth just didn't have the connections to level up, as well as see the path to level up, and so are unable to find well-paying IT jobs in their cities. And so we imagine a program that helps to bridge youth to three stakeholders: role models, employers, as well as jobs. And last but not least, confidence. As Natasha mentioned, many youth either don't want to pursue IT or don't complete IT trainings because they kind of feel a little bit intimidated by the word IT or technology. And so we want to build confidence in them that they too can learn and should learn these IT skills. And so we imagine a world in which youth, including women, feel empowered to pursue careers in the spectrum of digital products and services. So without further ado, we created this program called the IT Year, and it will take two forms. Phase one is digital, and phase two is in person. Next slide. Thank you. So what is the IT Year? The IT Year is basically a convenient, centralized hub where youth of all genders can basically do the three things that we mentioned earlier: comprehension, connection, and confidence. For one, learn practical IT skills to build successful careers. Two, meet and converse with other digitally interested youth in their community. And three, be connected with role models as well as professional opportunities to further their chosen career. Now, as mentioned, this will take two phases. To rapidly kind of execute and build this IT Year prototype, especially in our COVID-19 world today, the IT Year will initially take the form of the digital online-only prototype. And taking the learnings from that, as well as the content and curriculum that have been developed and learned from the initial online-only prototype, we hope to transition this to an in-person format eventually. So who is the IT Year program for? While being immersed kind of just in Kyrgyzstan and meeting all the youth there, we quickly realized that there are many the youth there are definitely not homogenous, and people there have different family situations as well as different career aspirations. So the IT Year program kind of caters to that by catering to people with different family situations, such as being married with kids, married without kids, having dependent parents, dependent spouses, or are single, and also have different career aspirations, whether it's just wanting to understand basic tech skills for any job, and that's what our prototype will start with, even to becoming IT specialists, furthering their family businesses, or wanting to be involved in other industries such as fashion, agriculture, and tourism. And so for this specific presentation, we'd like you to meet Nurzat. Nurzat is from Batken, Kyrgyzstan. She's 28 years old, and she's currently married and living with her husband and 4-year-old son, but she lives close to her parents as she is an only child. In terms of occupation, she currently supports her family's apricot business by sourcing to nearby stores. And so her goals and aspirations are a little bit related to this because she wants to take over this business once her father retires and expand it further, potentially with the help of IT and the internet. And also, she wants to continue to learn and kind of expand her horizons beyond just this business. And so now I'll pass it to Jazz, who will talk about how Nurzat can participate in the IT year program.
Thank you, Jeremy. So I'm going to walk you through our first component, the digital curriculum, through Nurzat's experience. And we've taken into consideration AKF's feedback and the current limitations with COVID, how it potentially can impact people's participation. So we want them to be participating in all of the 3 modules, which will be featured on our website and as well on our social media accounts. So the first module will be about comprehension and what are the skills necessary for them to succeed. So Nurzat wants to expand her business, right? For that, she needs to understand how to basically use computer, how to write emails, how to search for potential partners online. She also needs to learn about some Microsoft Office, like Excel is good for accounting. And using Instagram, for example, which is very popular in Kyrgyzstan, to sell her products would be very, very helpful. So we will teach her social media marketing tools. And second part is about connection. So we identified that the youth feels disconnected, not only physically, but also in this digital world. So the aim of this module is to connect them between each other, to the like-minded people like themselves, and also have some webinars that will teach them about public speaking skills, how to properly talk and explain their ideas. And the third module, which is very crucial for them, will feature some young entrepreneurs and successful people who will share their stories, how they were able to elevate their businesses. And it will be a good example for Nurzat, who is a woman who has her family, to learn about successful women IT, to learn about different like investors and young entrepreneurs. And later on, they will transfer to an in-person curriculum, which will launch sometime next year. And it will be a 5-day program. I'm not going to walk you through each day, but basically the significant feature of this program is having this in-person key skills, such as networking, such as pitching, that are crucially important to start and their own business and also to succeed in employment. And one unique feature is having kindergartens, which AKF is already implementing in Jilo program, which is going to be really cool for Nurzat. And the timeline will be like this. So we'll imagine a year-long program. The first half will be actually developing this digital content and the videos, establishing partnerships with organizations like USAID, etc., who are working in the space already. And the second half will be preparing for the in-person program, calculating the costs, figuring the places, and actually launching it next year in May. And for our class, sort of to wrap that up, our next steps would be to provide a very detailed outline on the marketing plan, on the cost for both in-person and the digital curriculum, and also to kind of identify, yes, thank you, identify the partners who AKF can explore and talk to, and also to share with them the design tools we've developed throughout the program. And finally, kind of be able to answer some of the questions they have and clarify some of our points. And with this, I just wanted to thank our team. Wait a second, my team, everyone who was able to contribute, to our amazing client AKF Kyrgyzstan team, who was very patient with our presentations and gave us valuable feedback, for everyone who's joining, and for the teaching team. DFSI has been a very transformational experience for all of us, and we cannot thank you enough. Thank you.